we're just about a month from when you were first elected a year ago. It's been kind of an interesting ride for all of us, but particularly for you. So I do want to get into some general questions, but I also want to talk to you about this anniversary of sorts. But I also want to talk, Mike and I interviewed Tom Carroll 2 weeks ago, and we did talk about the Cambridge Council's letter to the Waterfront Committee. And it was a surprisingly frank, open discussion about some concerns that the council has had with where the direction of that project. And I don't know if there's been a follow-up on that since we broadcast that, but it seemed like the news of the moment. And I'm curious about what the status is.
Well, since that letter went out, there was a meeting that we had to sort of get ready for the meeting that was held yesterday, where CWDI made a presentation in a closed session that they closed. I was on by virtually, couldn't hear very well, but we had decided that we would not close our meeting. And so two of our commissioners participated in that, as well as Tom and Brandon and Deborah, our treasurer. Because I couldn't hear, I dropped off. So I don't know all of the details of that. But I would say generally, since the Tom's letter to Matt, we are starting to make some progress in general terms. I think there's a better understanding of and a discussion and an understanding of way to go forward. But that's all that I can really say at this point. That would be within I think my bounds of being able to talk about the details.
Well, if I could, do I understand on that subject before we leave it there that there's discussion about is it called a tax incentive district or something along those lines that would actually require some action by council to endorse or codify or change the code that would be a special taxing area in the immediate surrounding community that would help support, I guess, infrastructure cost at the CWDI location?
Well, certainly that is part of the discussion, but how it will work, whether it will happen, all of those details have not been identified, worked out. We're at the very beginning of that conversation.
Do you have some kind of sense of why things got so kind of off center? I think that there was so much optimism about the way in which the organization was going, and I think we all still have some really high aspirations about how that property can be used. I mean, was there a breakdown of communication?
Well, we all have great aspirations about how that property is going to be used. As you know, there was originally the issue of the Y going there and the controversy that has developed. And so as part of all of this, in order to make this work, there has to be some level of trust between the organizations, county, city, and CWDI. So there really has to be a level of discussion that is within ourselves in order that we can come to a place that we all think will be acceptable to the public. And at that point, a lot of what we're going to be talking about will be out in the public forum and open for broader discussion. But I don't want to get into having a discussion more about that until we all are really in a place where it's appropriate to start talking out loud about some of these things.
Fair enough, Mike.
Mr. Mayor, children have always been near and dear to Steve Rideout's heart. And so as Dave was asking, in your first year here, how do you feel about the progress, the fits and starts? There was the curfew initiative, somewhat controversial in different aspects. And I think you were a strong voice for social services and working with the youth directly. How do you feel that that has landed, and what do you feel good about, and what might be some challenges?
Well, that's a great question. I'll be happy to talk for several hours about kids and whatnot. Just today, I had a discussion with a delegate from another county about the SINS law and how it could be tweaked, improved, things that need to really be considered as part of a way to make that a more successful implementation of what I think is very good legislation. The curfew, likewise, I was opposed to it initially because curfews normally don't work to, quote, reduce crime. But when the first curfew was defeated, the one that I opposed, that was the one now that's going to be on for a year. I was able to get a couple of the commissioners to agree with what I felt was a better way to get it going, which is the one that was passed. And the difference is that legislation is not about locking kids up or detaining them or waiting for parents to come and get them, but rather a mechanism to get services to them and to get help for the parents if parents need help, or to get help for the kids if the kids need help. Because we don't know with the curfew why they're out there. Are they out there because something bad's going on at home? Or are they out there because they're out of control? Or are they out there because mom and dad are working a couple, 3 jobs, or the only job they could get is a night shift job, and they don't have the resources to help pay for a babysitter or someone to take care of the kids while they're out working. So the aim of the legislation that was passed really helps to get the local care team involved to find out what's going on with that family so that we can then provide services. Virtually everybody I've talked with about this tell them that my experience with what were Chin's cases in Virginia, which is virtually the same thing as SIN's cases here, we got great results. We helped kids get services. We got family services. We found out that most of the problems that were being shown were children with substance abuse problems and mental health problems, or kids who were getting bullied and were afraid to go to school. And so I think that this kind of a legislation could really go statewide and could be very helpful to getting children and family services sooner. One of the things that we have talked since the SINS legislation got started, or the controversy about it, is that 2 things: the process of getting the Department of Juvenile Services to make decisions and whether or not they get cases into court is, I wouldn't say broken, but it is not working as well as it should. The data from this past year is that over 500 SINS complaints were filed around the state, and their data shows 13 cases made it to court. Well, 9 of those cases, according to their data, are in Dorchester County. And my sources in Dorchester County say none have been filed in Dorchester County. So that means only 4 cases out of the whole state. We had great success with our truancy caseload in Alexandria, getting these kids services. And the issue is, I think, the same here. How do we get those kids services voluntarily or by court order so that we can use that service to prevent them from becoming engaged in delinquent behavior or intervene early in delinquency or delinquent behavior. So I'm very positive about possibilities, and especially talking with the delegate today who's on one of the committees regarding juveniles. They are looking at a number of things, resources. It's not just about having the ability to make the complaint and get it into court. You got to have the resources there to help those families. And quite frankly, rural areas, small towns, just don't have those resources that are needed. And most of those resources go to the larger communities, bigger counties, bigger cities.
This is, I think, a particularly fair question because you used to be a judge. How do you judge your first year?
It's been exciting. It's been intriguing. It's been on some days challenging, and some days have been great days. I will say that the way our government is set up here in Cambridge is exactly the way it should be, I think, which is with a weak mayor and a strong city manager. We have a great city manager in Tom Carroll. He has been working like crazy, before I got elected, but in watching him work and looking at how he strategizes what he believes Cambridge needs, helps council to understand that, finds the right people to take the leadership positions, it's great to watch. He doesn't rush. He doesn't go and get somebody that he could get simply because he could get them. He wants to get the right people, and he's really putting in place the right people to make long-term positive change here. Certainly, the having the ARPA money and the investment by the state in Cambridge has been terrific for the city. The DCHD, Department of Housing and Community Development, really has been terrific here. What I'm also seeing here recently, issues of homelessness that we really have ignored, not because we didn't want to do something about it, but small cities don't normally get into that issue. That's really more of a city or a county and a state action, but people have come forward to me to talk about what might be done. Valerie Davis spoke last night at City Council about the tragedies and the need there, and we're going to try to help make some things happen there. We're going to be having ongoing meetings with Valerie and Jack Somm and some of the providers about homelessness, First Mission, the Overflow Cafe, and Delmarva Community Services. So we're going to look at that. I've started a mayor's commission against gun violence, have a group of about a dozen or so people, and we're starting to work on how we can help the police department and the community come together in a number of ways to help address some of the criminal behavior that's happening in the city. We're going to be supporting what CAN is doing with Neighborhood Watch. I've just reached out to a program that made a presentation last night about gun violence and youth to see if I can work with one of their people who made part of the presentation. So a lot of good things are happening. I see us down the road, for instance, with Larry White and the waterfront sea level rise stormwater project. I mean, that's just inches from our getting the funding finally approved, $19 million almost to help address those issues. One of the things I'd like to see us do is get a dog park here so that we can, that's fenced, so that we can have some of our larger dogs and smaller dogs have an opportunity to play with one another within a confined area so that they aren't fearful of running away on us. So lots of good things. Certainly the kids and the thefts and the the underage kids and what's happening there is something we got to do something about. I think the police department is doing a lot there. Antoine Patton is just terrific, and he runs the Police Athletic League. Lamont Goodson has just been hired by the state to as a civilian employee for our police department for community outreach. He's a former FBI agent, wonderful guy, knowledgeable. He's been working with moving Dorchester forward in a volunteer capacity since coming back here to become engaged in the community and whatnot. He grew up here, and so he's come back to a place he knows. So lots of good things happening, still challenges, but we're going to keep plugging away. And I see in the coming months even more things that are on the horizon that Tom has really been working on to get us ready for next steps. Going back after the HUD grant to help fix up some of these properties. Habitat, Chop Tank, and the work that they're doing in the Pine Street area, all is great. We've got. I'm sorry, I'm running on and on, but we got $3 million to help build probably a dozen or so houses on Chesapeake Court that will be able to turn around and sell at a reduced price. It's an interesting concept, but that will start to give some of our minority community home ownership again, because we've been way too long in the rental area. And going back to kids, I've working with the governor's office to try to see if we can get a different funding stream for funding to come to small cities and rural counties, at least for at-risk kids, rather than having us have to go after grants that we usually wind up on the short end of the stick about. And an example of that was the moving Dorchester forward with the ARPA money that the state had available. We went after, they said we could go after $800,000 in grants. We did, and we wound up with zero. Mm-hmm. And their reasoning was we were trying to start new programs. They wanted to fund programs that already existed, and we didn't have existing programming that would really have addressed the issues that we wanted to address here. And so we're not successful in getting that. So a lot of things going on, but a lot of challenges still yet to play out.
Sounds like a lot of things to be thankful for as we head into the Thanksgiving holiday.
Well, I think, and I think it's because we have again, a city manager and staff that are working hard, and a city council that's helping to make that happen with good legislation and listening to the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to you both, and thanks for talking. Call me again.
Sure will.